Hello and welcome back to Reflection 3, The Drugs Don't Work. My name is MC Man Paris, your guide and honest host. This is episode 4, The Eclipse, Duds, Thugs and Hardcore. Continuing on from season 2, we rejoin The Eclipse on Lower Ford Street in Coventry. It's October 1991. The club has just celebrated its first birthday and the lineup and the crowd are changing. The Eclipse just held an event for 7,000 people in the T2 aircraft hangar in Norfolk and have put on the first major all-night dance music event in Scotland, Highlander. But back in Coventry, the story continues. Open your mind as we take you back. Neil Tricks of Coventry's banging tunes.
From where the Eclipse started, then what it ended up being, now the Eclipse didn't create that, music created that.
Jay Holder, resident DJ at the Eclipse.
A lot of the guys that were coming up from London, they used to love it at the Eclipse because they could play anything that they wanted.
Jumping Jack Frost, DJ, author and founder of V Records.
It was an experimental place. We could go there and play tunes. You could really lay it down. Do you know what I mean?
And it went from being 125 BPM, fall to the floor, house music and Belgian music. And as that progressed, the latter part of the Eclipse became a rave club.
The hardcore general, DJ Groove Rider.
If you're going to go there, you're going to get some grimy beats in your head.
The Eclipse in Coventry was at the vanguard of the revolution in electronic dance music. Let's have a look at what was going on.
It didn't start out really as a rave club. It started out as an all-night club, but the rave scene was just, kind of beginning to happen then, and it moved into this hardcore club.
Guys that were coming up from London, they could really, really experiment, Groove Rider, Fabio, our own boy Dot Scott, DJ Ron. It was a real mecca for breaking through new music.
DJ and producer Kenny Ken.
Because I wasn't there from the very beginning of the Eclipse, but for me going there, it was turning into like hardcore with a break beat, and people were calling it jungle techno, coming from London, and it was coming up north, and that's the style I brought to the Eclipse.
DJ, producer and artist Mickey Finn.
I loved where I was now hearing breaks from hip-hop, reggae bass lines.
Yours truly, MC Man Paris. Groove Rider had his own style. He was more about beats and just the sound. He wouldn't have it like a field track. It was just the main things in them track that he knows are going to get to the ravers in Coventry. And I know that Coventry made them who they are today.
And we knew that deeper north, that Shelley's was still doing its thing that time, and that was that's where people wanted to go and put their hands in the air. But if you wanted to go to the Eclipse, you're going to get some grimy beats in your head. Well, from me, anyway, I don't know what anybody else was doing, but that's what I was about. But this was one of the first places I played at on a regular basis out of London. And, at first it was, Mickey Finn was the king of up north for us lot down in London. Mickey Finn was the one doing it up north. And, so to get bookings up north and be playing the same places where Mickey's playing, it was a big thing for me. Bookings started to fly in left, right and centre.
Coventry liked it hard. That's why we had the innovating DJs, MC Mad P from the Top Buzz.
We cotton onto it. Jason, the selector, and Mikey cutting onto it. You get what I'm saying? So we started kind of stretching it a bit to our kind of beat.
They all represented different parts. Mickey Finn, bass lines. You know, he was bringing out these reggae bass lines, like, and like, come on, Mickey, like, and everybody liked it because it went with weed, it went with the E, you know, you could ride on it on the mic. Eclipse resident and Distortion crew member, MC Hi-Fi.
The London boys, they weren't playing that same music down there, and they weren't playing that same music further north, but when they came here, there's a certain type of dirty, darkness, grimy kind of tune they could play, and we thrived off it. We were hardcore, we were dark, we were deep, dirty, nasty, you know what I mean? And we thrived off it. The Nasty Habit Society and all that Doc Scott was creating, that metal-led sound. It was, you know, it was more of that. It all changed, everything changed.
But I think as you got to October and beyond in '91, the drums and the way that the music was produced was definitely a lot harder.
Toz from Coventry's own Distortion crew.
The Midlands had a lot of producers, Neil Tricks, Tango, you know, Ratty, Fallout, you had SS, you know, they were really bringing a new sound into the West Midlands, and that was our sound. And it was very much breakbeat led with a lot of dark samples. You could see a lot of the northern DJs, they stopped coming.
Amnesia House co-founder, Bam Bam Linus.
Behind us came Cream with Sasha, John Digweed and all them sort of DJs. The music we were playing, they carried on playing. So the people, the crowds that we were getting were going, and they were going to Cream and places like that. These DJs were creating a different sound. We had different people coming then. Our crowd had changed. The attitude had changed. You know, this was like a bit of a mind-bending sort of music.
Different Strokes by Isotonic. The Groove Rider remix. By now, we had a growing trend in the car park, which was putting punters off. We hear how the dud ecstasy industry was destroying the club. This is Distortion Crew's Rob Gray.
You'd have coachloads of people arriving from as far north as Scotland, Bristol, London. They'd come, and obviously the Eclipse had a lot of people congregating. It was a mecca for the Coventry hustlers. And a lot of people were getting, they were getting hustled outside before they even got into the club.
Coventry raver George Chapman.
If you're there and you're off your nut and you see someone say, have you got any pills, mate? And like you said, you know, you're buying pills off them and they're dud. You're going back an hour later and they're like, fuck off. You know, it was just the wrong attitude to what was there, you know, a year ago.
Ecstasy played a massive part. For people to keep selling them duds, why would you want to come back? Speaking to people in there, people out of town, I was hearing stories left, right and centre of people actually getting sold duds and they're saying they're not going to come back again. And they didn't.
You know, that car park was like an early TripAdvisor. You know, a couple of bad experiences there and you never go back again.
I mean, don't forget it was the first time that something like this was in the country. It's the first time that something like this was in Coventry. So I think you had to have pretty stern people on the door. But that's my belief of why I think the Eclipse was so successful.
Daylight Robbery's Roger Germain.
It was run by people that you wouldn't want to mess around with, really, because they were probably the only ones that could do that at that time.
Neville Fivey of Amnesia House.
When we used to do the divvy up at, at the end of the night, Baz used to actually charge me for electric that I used on the night and stuff like that, He used to charge, and Stuart used to be squirming in his chair thinking, what's he doing? I've just rammed his club. He's cleaned up behind the bar on the pop and the water. He's going, right now, if you use this much electric, I'm going to charge you 50 or 100, whatever of that. I was like, you having a laugh, like.
The first thing that comes into my mind about Eclipse is that one day I was there and I was playing upstairs in the DJ stand and my MC Fearless was downstairs. It was back in '92 and this guy came up to the DJ stand and rewound my record, like put his hand on my record and just stopped it. So I kind of looked at him funny and he looked at me and I said to them, get him out. And no one didn't move to him, so I moved to him and got him out. But then when I got him out, he came back in again and done it again. So I punched him and then just kicked off in the DJ stand. Fearless has come running upstairs. So we had a fight with this geezer, security come and got him out. To cut a long story short, when the club finished, because we stayed there till the end, I think it finished about 7:30, 8 o'clock, and we come out and we're sitting in the car and the same guy came across the road from the car park and just like went on our windscreen and just looked at us like that through the windscreen, and it was so terrifying.
This is DJ Easy Groove at the Eclipse in October 1991. DJ Ron, aka The Chosen One, reflects on how the scene was an outlet during dark times.
Politically as well, there's like unrest in this country. Fucking IRA bombs going off everywhere. And at the weekend, thousands of people are doing this. And so this merger of sort of like cultures and values and dress sense and music and whatever, this has never happened before. And I doubt it will ever happen again. And for me, that's why I think everybody gravitated so much to it. Why there's people now in their 50s who look back at those times fondly and have more sort of like lenience towards their children, because they know they were one of them.
The classic We Are E by Lenny D. Ice, regarded by many DJs, artists and ravers as the prototype jungle record.
Tracks like We Are E would have been regarded as a hardcore track back then, but it's also a jungle track.
The British hardcore sound was moving forward at a breakneck pace, with music being created in bedrooms on Atari STs and cracked copies of Cubase on floppy disks. This is Simon Colebrook of Two Bad Mice and A&R with the legendary label Moving Shadow.
It's a really, really tricky one to pick out that one moment when you're thinking there's like a seismic change in the scene happening here.
By this time, like Fabio, Groove Rider, all the big name DJs, Jumping Jack Frost, Ray Keith, all these sort of DJs, they were creating this sound called jungle techno.
Because to me it was just progression anyway. It was just progression. So suddenly hearing kind of darker sounds in tracks didn't make me go, crikey, we're going to have a whole new subgenre here. And some of the tracks were kind of a little bit more polished as well. People were becoming a little bit more familiar with engineering and production stuff.
The reason it evolved was tempos. Simple. You couldn't make 4-to-the-floor house music at those kind of tempos. So you had to introduce breakbeats.
A lot of these DJs were hip-hop DJs, so they were, rather than just a normal 4-beat bass drum, they were bringing in breakbeats. And then there was these crazy noises of just wild. There's never been music made like this before. One of our first DJs that got into this sort of hardcore music was DJ Doc Scott, who created a track called NHS.
This tune was Nets in Coventry's dance music revolution. This is Coventry's own Doc Scott with the seminal NHS.
You know, we had banging tunes. We put a lot of work into the events. We put our nastiness nights on there. We worked really, really hard. But there were some promoters that came in and put a night on there, didn't promote it. And if it goes from having busy nights every week to once a month, what's happening to the other 3 weeks in that month? People are choosing to go elsewhere. And we brought people like the Roughage crew, you know, who the DJs adored.
We had us up from up south, we had them up from the Midlands, you had Easy D and them up from up north, do you know what I mean? And everyone would come to the Eclipse and showcase, and it was just one big family, do you know what I mean? The music was hella dark then though, man, it was really dark.
I think it was the evolution of us having something very British, you know, and wanting something very British, and that's what was changed. Obviously the drugs played a big part of it.
I loved where I was now hearing breaks from hip-hop, reggae bass lines.
DJ Hype, record producer and founder of the True Players label.
I used to do Fantasy FM and take hip-hop tunes and play them on 45 and mix break beats over the top of a house tune. You know, like I came from reggae, hip-hop, and I used to be a competition DJ mixer. So the break beat for me was what I loved. Coming from the same camp and Shut Up and Dance, we're the same family. The break beat was what we were trying to put into everything. The hardcore is more the stab sounds, the sounds that if you're on drugs will trigger your high, I assume.
You didn't know what Groove Idol was going to play next. You didn't know what DJ Ron was going to bring. You didn't know what LSD was bringing. You didn't know what SS was going to bring. You didn't know what Ratty was going to play. You didn't know whether Tango's PA was going to be amazing. You didn't know what new material he was going to play. But what you did know is they were all going to bring loads of different music. And that was your night out.
I was playing from a raver's point of view, you know, because I'm a raver, and you know, that's why I think I caught on quick as well, because I had that raver's mind when I was DJing, because I used to take the drugs as well.
Here's a classic, Two Bad Mice. Live tapes from the Eclipse were becoming a phenomenon, being sold across the country in record shops and clothing stores. Ravers used their own home equipment to duplicate tapes and distribute them to their friends, which became the soundtrack to the young people sessioning at home.
I mean, bootleg tapes have been around for a long time, since the 70s, early 80s. Stuart, I thought, was a great entrepreneur. It was still underground, but he took it to another level. He appreciated that if you are a person that's earning in money in another department, being tapes, that you should be paid for it, which was greatly accepted and appreciated. But I believe Stuart was the person that started off the tape pack. You know, you went from Stuart singles, then I think Stuart had a double, and then the next one I saw was a 4, and then it went 8. I remember seeing ones with 12 in, I think. It went to a whole tape, you know, the whole night was in there.
You're getting it into people's houses, right? So it was a very clever marketing tool back then. You know, I don't suppose they were looking at it like that. They just wanted to get their tapes out and make some money. I don't know if the DJs knew about it. I don't even know if they agreed to it, right?
When I first started playing at the Eclipse, I never knew that I was being recorded. It's only when certain other DJs started to get the ump about it, that's when I realised, oh, what, they're recording me. So I spoke to Stuart, sat down, I spoke to him, listen, I said, I need to get paid. And he was good as gold. Come round my house in the weekend, come round and see me, here's your money. So I never had a problem with getting taped, as long as I was getting paid for it, you know. In fact, I think that was the first ever place I think I got taped, to be honest with you. Got recorded, you know, and he was the first man who started doing them multi-tape packs. But he was smart, he bought in the DAT machine, and he got the fullness of the quality of the music.
Looking back on it, looking back on them days there, it was crazy because they created a whole industry and they set a model that was copied worldwide. You go to Camden Market in London and you had market stalls with these tape packs selling all, and they all started from the Eclipse. Do you know what I'm saying? Even now, people are like, oh, these tapes, those tapes are still legendary now. Do you know what I'm saying? I'd DJ at 7 o'clock in the morning and there's no one in there sometimes. Do you know what I'm saying? There's no one in there. And they didn't mind because the tapes were selling, do you know what I'm saying? Especially towards the end. At the beginning, it was always buzzing in there. But towards the end, when they started ripping the arse out of it, do you know what I mean? Sometimes there was no one in there all night, but the DAT machine was running and that's all that mattered because it was bringing a lot of revenue.
I was getting paid, but someone else was advertising me, if you get what I mean, through the tape packs. It got me more recognition. One time I got stopped by police. It was gun police and they opened up the back of the car. Obviously they was looking for guns and I said, I'm a DJ, and they said, what DJ are you? And I told them, and they started telling me about where I've played. No, we used to come and listen to you and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, I had drugs in the car, they let me off, they just let me drive off, you know what I mean? So, you know, that was a big part of, you know, just being on them cassette tapes.
This is DJ Kenny Ken, live from the Eclipse.
Total ecstasy.
If you were in the Eclipse in the early 1992, you'd have heard this tune. Some Justice was being played by everybody at the club. Mickey Finn, one of the co-creators, tells us how it all came together.
Ray Keith hates his story, so I used to buy records in City Sounds. Ray worked behind the counter. A man was standing up here. He had a briefcase and a Burberry Mac on. Like he was a computer programmer dude, he looked like my teacher. He played this thing to Ray, Ray played it. It didn't sound that great, but the bass line pitched up and my ears pricked up. I made my way over to him, had a little chat with him. That person was Aphrodite. Gavin used to be a computer programmer, he's got a degree in computer programming. He, I think, was on his lunch break or something like that. Me and him had a quick little chat. He lived not far from where I lived. I arranged to go and work on it. I took over the break. I took over the CC Rogers sample and I told him to get the bass line up and we started working on the bass line. That tune becomes Some Justice. The editing of the breaks and stuff, I just wanted to try something completely new. I kind of only been in and made She's Breaking Up at that point, and She's Breaking Up, the breaks were kind of straight, I just robbed them. So we just chopped up the breaks. I didn't realise what I had until I played it at Groove, and he was like, oh my fucking God. He went, you'll do 100,000 of that, mate. I was like, yeah, right. He was like, Mickey, that is gonna be huge, mate. I didn't realise, you don't. I suppose no one knows. You just go in and make a tune. Sometimes less is more. For me, it was about the break, the bass line, and CC Rogers. The riff at the beginning is a car router. A lot of people don't know that, but it's literally like a car horn that just makes that stab up.
One of the most famous mainstream events at the Eclipse happened a few months before its closure in April 1992. The Hitman and Her, a weekly late-night clubbing programme, was broadcast live from Energy at the Eclipse, and the broadcast became part of dance music folklore. Mark Archer from Nexus 21 and Alternate takes us back.
That many people had said to the Hitman and Her, you need to do a rave special. This is what's happening in clubs. And I think that's, I mean, it was an amazing night, absolutely rammed. Pete Waterman sweating his bits off. Michaela Strachan, absolute scared shitless.
This is Jason Kay of Top Buzz. Rest in peace, Jason Kay.
They just couldn't believe what was going on. They'd never seen anything like that. You know what I mean? I'm sure Pete was nutted that night. He was fucked. They'd never seen anything like that before. The electricity of the crowd, when the tune came in, the place would just go bananas, like crazy. The noise, the energy.
It was rammed outside. It was like the beginning of when the Eclipse opened, you know, the buzz about the place. And it was queues going all the way back. And it was commercial, and it was a great night, but you just couldn't move. You know, it was absolutely rammed. And, you know, the type of people that were in there, they were from all over the country again, you know, like it was before. Not just your localised Midlands. It was people from Scotland, London, Bristol, Southampton. Everyone was in there talking. The vibe was really, really good. And it was a little bit cheesy at times, but it didn't mind, you know, because everyone was on that high. And I think that was probably one of the best nights I've been in there, you know, Hitman and Her, because it's still being talked about now.
We even got P.P. Arnold, who's like a 60s soul singer, to come up from London and perform on stage in a sweaty rave. You know, it was a bit of a mad night.
I'd like to introduce on stage, live, Miss P.P. Arnold. Make some noise, come on! Let's hear that! Are you ready to go or what? Check her out.
You take me higher, want this to evaporate. I need that feeling. Sometimes I just can't wait. You take me higher. Sometimes I just can't wait. I need that feeling. Don't want this to evaporate. Don't make me wait.
At the beginning, you could go there every week and know you were going to have a good event. Towards the end, you were hoping it was going to be a good night. You weren't guaranteed to have a good night. That's the difference. The Eclipse had gone from being a name to being a venue. And when you turn it into a venue, it relies on the promoters to do the work, not the Eclipse. And that's one of the reasons why it failed.
I think you can mostly do that with any club in the world, and people are going to get bored of it. It's starting to become that same place. The expectations stay the same.
You know, we got to that point from the start where it was 120 BPM, and by the time we'd left there, it was 40 BPM faster.
Stuart and Baz weren't around, like, you know, I mean, I was sort of involved, but not directly involved with the money. I was still doing the odd Amnesia House events in there. And obviously, when the main men ain't there, you lose control, you know. Still had the same security, but it wasn't controlled like it should have been, you know, like, so it lost its edge then, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, towards the end of the Eclipse, they were kind of like running on fumes. DJs were either not turning up or allegedly not turning up. Really, it led to the closure of the Eclipse and then the relaunch of the Edge. And I do believe that happened, obviously, because you had other cities around who had their own little thing going on. Clubs opening, all-night parties, all-night venues.
Yeah, I was gutted when the Eclipse was closing. But I think it had run its course. I think it had come to the end of its story. I think the journey for the club was finished. And it's a shame because I think the journey for the club was only cut short because of the shenanigans that were going on in the car park. Like I said, people getting sold dead ecstasy pills, people getting robbed inside the club. And I think that really brought the curtain down on what was a great club.
This is The Good Life by Vibe Tribe, the only act to have signed for Eclipse Records. I remember this one very well. Written, produced and directed by Adrian Patrick Dowling. Sound recordings, Ron Samuels and Edward Taylor. Voiceover by MC Man Paris. Offline editing, Jonah Winkless. Sound edit and mastering, Duncan Whitley. Trainee assistants, Jamie Shufflebottom, Roman Dowling and KD Dowling. This is a Daylight Robbery production. The Eclipse finally shut its doors in June 1992, but Coventry's story doesn't end there. Baz Edwards has had enough and Stu Reed is in prison, but he has a new idea up his sleeve. Listen next to Reflection 3, The Drugs Don't Work, Part 5, The Edge, where hardcore mutated into jungle.